Building AI agents for real-world workflows used to mean wrestling with massive prompts and unpredictable outputs. In this video, I'll show you how I use Google Agent Development Kit to build agents that are actually reliable and easy to maintain. Let's set the ground rules. Building reliable agents is about state management, routing, and guardrails, and not just making API calls. With that in mind, let's walk through an example. If you've ever had to assess an enterprise migration from one productivity suite setup to another, you know the pain of manual mapping. It's pure grunt work. It takes days to parse the docs, figure out the mapping, latest changes, and format a clean output that makes sense to your user. So I built an AI agent that maps Microsoft 365 licenses and add-ons to Google Workspace equivalents, outputting a clean 10-chapter report. Using the Google ADK, I put together an orchestration pipeline that takes in raw text or images of a software license list and runs a research and then outputs structured data. Let's look at the code to see how ADK keeps this architecture clean and modular. Instead of one giant fragile prompt, I use a multi-agent architecture. In ADK, I wire this up using a SequentialAgent. The workload is broken down into small focused sub-agents, and I have like an input parser to extract the license data, researchers to query my docs, and a reporter to create the actual report. This means each agent gets a very specific task and their own system prompt, which cuts down hallucinations and makes debugging much easier. But getting an LLM to spit out a perfect 10-chapter report with a 0 or one-shot prompt is basically impossible. You need validation. That's why I use the ADK loop agent. By pairing my license mapper with a report reviewer in a loop, I created a self-correcting cycle. The reviewer checks for missing features or broken formatting like unwanted emojis and bounces it back to the mapper to fix before the run finishes. Now, what about the data? To get accurate answers, my agent combines Google Search as a real-time grounding tool with a locally stored knowledge base of enterprise feature matrices. But injecting those massive local CSV files into your prompt on every single run eats up your context window and spikes API costs. ADK solves this with built-in context caching. By caching the knowledge base, I load it once. ADK handles the time to live and token limits under the hood, dropping latency and saving tokens on every run. I can also just drop in a logging plugin to stream prompt and response data directly to a logging sync, which supports later observability in production. And here's the best part. Getting this agent out of my local IDE into production is super easy. Because I built this with the ADK, I don't have to write custom Dockerfiles or figure out complicated hosting infrastructure. Deploying this directly to Google's agent engine is literally just one command away. So let's recap. Remember, building reliable agents is about state management, routing, and guardrails. And by using ADK, I built a modular pipeline that handles complex logic, checks on its own work, scales without blowing up the budget, and deploys instantly. The biggest learning while building this was how to prevent the HTTP 429 resource exhausted error. With simply adding 2 additional HTTP headers, you can make use of priority inference, and your agent gets guaranteed and prioritized slots at the model endpoint. If you want to stop wrestling with raw API calls and start building real agent workflows, check out ADK. You can find the docs and the repo links in the description below. Let me know in the comments what you plan to build, and happy coding!